Thanks. So a weird thing happened to me about a year ago here at the Berkeley Slam. I was at the bar and I was waiting for my beer, and there's a guy at the bar. He said, "Oh, are you reading tonight?" I said, "Yeah." I'm like, "I guess you've seen me before, huh?" He's like, "Yeah, I've seen you read here the last couple times." I was like, "Oh, cool." And then he said, "Are all your pieces angry?" I didn't really know how to respond to that then, but like looking back on it, I wish I could have said, "Just because you feel threatened by what I have to say doesn't necessarily mean that I'm angry." So I'd like to dedicate this poem to that guy, and this is called Fighting Words. Transsexual. Transsexual, 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 transsexual. I can say it over and over again, but I can't change how that word sounds. Transsexual is the most maligned word in the dictionary. It's the 10,000-ton ugly assumption that the world has dropped on top of me. Because as far as most people are concerned, transsexual is just a XXX spam email advertising the one type of porn that no one they know will admit to whacking off to. Transsexual is a surefire one-liner in a Jay Leno monologue. It's Howard Stern's second favorite word, after lesbian. I even heard that transsexual women will be coming out to their boyfriends yet again on this week's Jerry Springer. Hell, even psychobabble hacks like Dr. Laura and Dr. Phil want in on the tranny action. Well, fuck all of them! I want my fucking word back! It's mine, and you can't have it! Like the vast majority of transsexuals, I grew up closeted, but not by choice. I was intimidated into silence. As a child, I took every dumbass joke and ignorant, hateful comment that I heard about transsexuals, turned them all in on myself. It felt like death by a million cuts. My brain bathed in self-hatred, as I learned at a young age that the only way I'd be allowed to survive was if I buried myself alive. I kept a 27-year-long secret. And for most of that time, I honestly would have killed myself if I thought there was any chance of my family or friends finding out. And that's exactly how the world wanted me to feel. Because most people are like powder kegs, so full of insecurities about their own gender and sexuality that they've become scared to death of me for simply being a spark that they're afraid might set them off. So they engage in an unspoken strategy, redirecting their fears back at me, because they know if they can bully me into keeping quiet, then they'll be free to appropriate my identity, say whatever the fuck they want about me, thus turning their worst nightmare into a laughingstock. But that's all about to stop, because I'm out now, and I'm ready to go toe-to-toe with every non-transgendered person who had the arrogance to assume they've even the slightest clue of what I'm all about. I'm calling the whole fucking world out. I'm calling out every person who thinks they've never met a transsexual before, because chances are you've met scores of us. You're just stupid enough to believe that we'd be so different from you that you would be able to notice us. I'm calling out every person who assumes that transsexuals are delusional because we don't conform to common sense. Well, fuck that. Common sense is what tells us the world is flat. I'm calling out every paranoid straight boy who believes that transsexual women are out to deceive them. Just because you're homophobic and conceited doesn't give you the right to take your fears of inadequacy out on me. I'm calling out every woman who thinks that being born female makes her more of a woman than me. Fuck, after spending most of your life never quite measuring up to the unrealistic expectations of what a real woman should be, you have the nerve to turn around and use those same bullshit on me? I'm calling out every person who's ever complained about how difficult it is to use the right pronouns with me. Here's a helpful hint. Why not try thinking before you speak? I'm calling out every person who's ever called me courageous, because after hearing that 100 times, it just sounds like the nicest possible way of saying, I'm glad I'm not in your shoes. I'm calling out every person who's offered me backhanded compliments like, wow, I never would have guessed, and you're so lucky you're able to pass. Oh, so I should be grateful that I don't look like a transsexual. Well, fuck that! I am a transsexual! And while I'm at it, I'm calling myself out. For every time I pretended that being a transsexual was no big deal, every time I played it down so that somebody else wouldn't feel so uncomfortable around me. Fuck everyone who has ever felt uncomfortable around me. And fuck me for every time I tried to make the best of the role of circus freak, jumping through everyone's hoops and juggling their false impressions of me. Fuck me for not having the guts to just be a bulldozer and run all their expectations right the fuck over. Fuck me for every time I worried about what others might think when all along I should have been shouting out, shut the fuck up at the top of my lungs, because the whole fucking world doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about. Everyone needs to stop talking about transsexuals and listen to what we have to say for once. So shut the fuck up, because transsexual is our word. And you can't fucking have it anymore. Thank you. I have one more quick one.